Once again, everybody, we are expecting a big group today, and I'm excited. So I want to welcome two new presenters to the Tech and Tell series. I am joined today by Dr. Charity Embley and Marie Covert from Odessa College. More about them shortly. The topic today is stay organized and productive with LiveBinders. I am very excited to introduce two new Tech and Tell presenters to the Tech and Tell family. And we have Marie Covert, who is a PD coordinator of Transitional Learning Center at Odessa College. She is also involved with Aztec as a trainer, and she is an active user of LiveBinders with her students in her classroom. I am also joined by Dr. Charity Embley, who is an associate professor of the Teacher Education Program. She is an ESL instructor with the Transitional Learning Center at Odessa College, and she is also a certified Google trainer as well. She also has a background in disabilities. So two wonderful presenters. So at this time, I'm going to stop sharing, and I know Charity, I'm going to have you take over right now. Go ahead and unmute, and welcome both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Emery. Good morning. My name is Charity Embley, and my colleague is Marie Covert. We are proud to present LiveBinders with everybody. So to begin.
Hi, this is Marie Covert. So our question today, our poll question is, how do you store all of your information? Your links to things that you want to use in class. How do you organize your files, such as PDFs, all of your data, any videos, photos, and links? One would be files in a cabinet, a file cabinet, a physical notebook with dividing tabs, various notebooks, photo albums, and files, or different types of cloud-based.
Google Drive was the big winner. Who'd like to share what other cloud service you use? Because that was tied with files in a file cabinet. So what other cloud service do you use? All right, go ahead and do that. DocuWare. Thank you, Courtney. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing results. And then, all right, so Marie, I'll let you go ahead and keep going, and Charity.
Okay, Charity. I appreciate you all taking the time to do this.
Thank you so much for that, Paul. I just want to chime in that I guess our lowest for that poll was Wakelet. I'm actually one of those people who use Wakelet a lot, and I use that for also organizing some of my ESL lessons. So for today, our session objectives is to discover the importance of online organizers, explore the features of LiveBinders, and of course, you will get the chance to create your own free binder. So just heads up for everybody, the way that we are presenting this webinar is that we're going to show you three major features for LiveBinders. We will show you the process first, and then we will go live, so you'll get a chance to explore it. And then we'll explain another feature, and then you go live. I just want to give everybody heads up so you kind of have an idea of the flow of this webinar. So I just wanted to get everybody's opinion about this. We all know that trap, the endless pile of clutter, trying to find that special photo or document. Can anybody relate to that? Maybe thumbs up. Maybe something that you can share in the chat. Has this ever happened to you where you have just tons of, Randy, your Google Drive is cluttered? I can relate to that. I do need to organize my Google Drive. I've actually been very, very keen of actually saving everything in Google Drive. I do everything from Google Sheets, Google Slides for my lessons and lecture because I could just log into any computer and just pull them out. Thank you. Yes. So it seems like everybody is talking about Google Drive. Do y'all have any papers scattered in your table in your office? I, for one, still have those. I mean, I often cannot find. Yes, definitely. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. So, I mean, what can you do about it? So, I guess that's a question. Instead of having 20 notebooks cluttering up your office, why not go paperless? You know, that sense of freedom. Yes, no paper. I'm probably that person too that if it was my bills, I would probably go paperless. I always choose paperless because I don't like bills just cluttering. And then I actually do recycle a lot of those. I have probably have 2 trash bags that I need to send out for recycling. Another thing that probably some of you might not be aware is that Steiner actually said that in one tree alone, we are wasting 12,000 papers. Now, Steiner did explain about an annual campaign by the Association for Information and Image Management is actually a nonprofit that provides standards, market research, education for information professionals. Do you know that November 6th is actually World Paper Free Day? That was just last week. And what the World Paper Free Day was is to raise awareness of the huge amount of paper used in vain and to promote paperless technologies. Another thing during another thing during the World Paper Free Day is that people are actually encouraged to stop using paper for at least one day and to stop being reliant on paper. And you also know that the average office worker, according to research, uses about 4 dozen sheets of paper per day. Yes, I can see from the chat here. Let's see. Save the trees, use digital. Ashley said she hates paper. I actually try not to print out a lot of notes for even for my students. I usually use Padlet and I give my students a link and they could actually use some of the notes there. Ever since that we went into remote instruction, I have tried my best to actually use some of the digital tools. I was just to read here that Courtney said that she spent weeks scanning and sending boxes and boxes to shred. Yes, Courtney, I actually broke my shredder because I have been shredding so much papers. Thank you. I love DocuSign too. So remember that November 6th, it actually was just last week. What is LiveBinders? So you know that once you get into the LiveBinders website, that will be livebinders.com. You're going to see in the homepage right here that it shows you a tally. So I want to bring your attention at the bottom right here. So it has this tally of some really impressive numbers. So if you notice right here, the numbers here are indicative of the powerful use of online binders. Right now, there are about almost like more than 2.40 million users of online binders. You can notice here too that there's over 339 million viewers for online binders alone. And can you imagine how many trees are saved if you use online binders? That's going to be over like 203,950 trees that are being saved. So therefore, how do you use LiveBinders? So what can you do with digital information? That will be the best questions. It's just like organizing piles of papers on your desk, like you have a 3-ring binders on your shelf. So you have your three ring binders, you got dividers. LiveBinders will be similar to that one. So you can actually organize your files into presentable containers, and you can even rename them. Another thing with online binders is you can combine all your cloud documents, even website links, and you can upload desktop documents for easy access, for sharing, updating your binders from anywhere. So which means that if I forget something, which I do sometimes in my office and say, like, oh, I forgot the piece of document in my office. I wish I had that so I can work at it in my home office. But with online binders, you can save that and you can access it anytime and anywhere. So can anybody think of any uses for LiveBinders? Please do type your answers in the chat.
And I'll let you know, Charity, when the questions start coming in too. So, okay, so Cecilia says lesson plans.
Great. Thank you, Cecilia.
And could be used for student folders instead of keeping records in paper. Excellent. PDSs. What does that mean, Cecilia? I think professional development. Is that what you mean? That's what I'm thinking.
Yes, Cecilia, actually some of, let's say,
okay.
If you like a PowerPoint presentation from a conference, that you can actually link to it.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, so lots of great homework, literally everything, advisor notes, student folders. Donnie McGowan says we have a staff handbook with links, AL letters, and guidance. Oh, that's a great idea. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
So, like I mentioned earlier, we're going to show you how to sign up for livebinders.com. So we're going to show you the process first, and then we'll give you a chance to actually explore it on your own. So of course, the first thing once you go to the website is you're going to see here on the top right, you're going to see sign up. Now, sign up is very easy. There's two ways of signing up. Actually, you can sign up with your email, or you can sign up with Google. So if you are signing up with just any email provider that you have, you can use your work email, or you can use your personal email. So you will still have to create your username. Now it's very specific, only letters and numbers. Another thing with signing up with Google is that, for instance, in my case, I sign up with my Google account. It automatically populates the information I have with my Google account. And most of the time I do that when I sign up, let's say for even with my Zoom account, I automatically sign up with my Google account too. Now, just a few reminders when you are trying to sign up. For instance, let's say you use your Google account, it will not populate anything here in the username. So you have to actually choose a username. So that's the reason I want to emphasize that. Well, you notice here, that's my Gmail account. Of course, a few things that you might want, you'll see these check boxes here. Now that's optional. If you'd like to know more about changes to LiveBinders, you can check that. If you don't want to be notified about documents, you can leave it blank. But of course, don't forget to always check the CAPTCHA. Let's say if you're just not a robot, that's it. Okay, like I mentioned here, when it's populated by Google, just don't forget. So today, right now, it's your turn to create an account.
Yes,
All right. All right, so up at the right-hand side, you see a login and a sign up. To create your new account, you can click on the sign up. Okay, and then you can choose either to sign up with your regular email or to sign up with Google. And as Dr. Embley said, if you choose your Google account, it will bring up, and you can choose between whichever one that you have. I happen to have several, but I'm not logged in to any of them except for this one. I will choose that account, and it will populate all of the areas here. Now, as Dr. Embley described earlier, it will have a username. Now, it does automatically generate. That doesn't mean you'll get this account name, because there are times that there are more people that have that name on there. So you can change this username. One of mine is Marie Covert's Lab, and that way I can just type in the username and then password. It does populate these two areas. As she said, you do need to check whether or not you want to have email notifications and click on the I'm not a robot. That's really important to do the CAPTCHA, and then sign up. Once you sign up, we'll go into that in just a moment. Dr. Embley? Okay, so
There
if
you
you
go.
if you wanted to use the sign up with regular email, and that would be Yahoo, any of the others that you have, you'd go ahead and put your username, and you have to choose that. Remember, it can only be letters and numbers, the email that it is, and retype that email so that you know you have it in there correctly. And again, you would click the boxes if you wanted to have emails sent to you.
Charity and Marie, what is your advice about someone that already has a personal Gmail account and just signing in that way? Because I know we want to try to get everybody signed up.
Yes.
So do you think that would be? Mm-hmm.
To me, that's the easiest way. You would click sign in up and use sign up with Google.
Well, I think, okay, so what I think we want to do now is go ahead and let us know using the yes and no buttons, your reaction buttons, if you've signed up. If you successfully signed up, use your reaction buttons and let us know yes. And then if you're still working on it, just let us know. And Kay's still saying she can't log in.
Two, if you have forgotten what you logged in as before, if you've already got an account with them, you can always go in and ask for the password reminder or create a new password, and they'll send it to you in your email.
So now that most of you have created an account, the next thing we're going to do is we will create a new binder. So once you log into your account, you're going to see in your dashboard there's certain menus. You have new binder, new shelf, uploaded files, binder stats, view comments, deleted binders. So right now, what we're going to be doing is clicking that icon that says new binder. So just remember that when you are selecting new binder, and of course, in choosing your binder name, you can also always change it later on. So, of course, the first step is always to click on new binder. Okay, after which when you click a new binder, you're gonna have to select a binder name. Now, description is optional. You don't have to write anything there, but if you want to say something, this is a collection of tools for organizing my Google Drive, for instance. Another thing is, sorry.
Would you like for me to?
Here you go. Okay. Another thing to remember is that you also have to complete the form. So, like I said, description is optional. Another thing is about tags. Now, for some of you are not familiar with tagging, so you're probably wondering, why do I need to put a tag? So tagging basically just notifies the recipient and hyperlinks to the tag profile. So you think of it like a taxonomy. Like, some sites use tags as navigation in tag clouds. So which could be a representation of a list of items. So again, when you want to add words in the tags, something that you could relate to what your collection is, it's a kind of indexing. It's a process of labeling or categorizing the information that you have in your collection that will support, the resources or discovery for users. That way, if somebody would Google something with a particular name, it might pull up your collection. So for instance, right here, under category, we just want to let you know that please choose the best option for your collection. Again, you know what you want to add in that collection. So that is up to you to put a category in that one. So again, another thing that I mentioned was about tags. So make sure that it's related. For instance, I have a collection of Google Apps Key links. So my Google Apps Key links is just basically all the modules that I have for my Google Applied Digital Skills tools. So I would say AppSkey, for instance, because that will, if people type AppSkey, it will direct to this resource. Now, another thing that you might want to think about too is, sorry, that one, that apps key. So I put an apps key. I could even put comma, Google, comma, digital tools, and so on. Oh, another thing before I forget, everybody, I just want to let you know, there's an option that says public and private. Now that is up to you. If you feel that your collection is something private for you, please do not forget to select private. That means only you and the people that you choose to view can actually view your binder. But if you feel that it's something you want to share to everybody, so please select public. So please don't forget that once you're done, you can click the button right here that says create new binder. So now,
Charity, quick question. Can we go back? I think this one's important to answer now while you're on that screen. Can you go back one slide?
yes, ma'am.
There you go. When you mean public, does that mean public to everyone on, on the World Wide Web, especially if we're, depending on what type of information is being shared in the binders? So what does public versus private mean?
Okay, that's a good question. Now, in some sites, okay, for instance, it's the same. You think of it this way, like your Facebook profile. So I have set my Facebook profile to private, but if I Google myself, my Facebook profile will still show. So you think of in terms that even if you click on private, it will show up in a search, probably on the first page or second page, depending on how many people are actually searching for that keyword. It will just show that there is a collection, but that necessarily mean that people can actually access your collection. I hope that makes sense.
I think it does, and I just put in the chat, but the public, in quotes, can't open the binder. So they
Yes.
can search for it, but they can't necessarily open it. Okay.
Yes, they can't open it.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, you can keep, I think we can move forward. Thank you.
Okay. So it's now your turn to create a binder.
Yes, first you click on Create New Binder. Pick a binder name. I'm going to pick this one for reading. A short description is always good to have. So I'm going to have sites for reading and then the tags. If you want to tag it as education, reading, learning, use a comma between the names that you put down for the tags to separate them. On this, I'm going to choose a category. I think that education would be a good category for this. And remember, you want to have a category for it so people can weed out whenever they're looking for maybe a reading. It could be a personal. You could actually, if you had several binders, you could have news and politics in one, or gossip, foods and recipes. So for education, they would know that this was something that everyone could see who is maybe teaching or learning. I'm going to set mine to public. And as I say before, you can always change this to private if you want to. And if you put it in a private setting, you can create an access key. I did that with mine. And the more views that you have for LiveBinders, the more binders you can have. And whenever I say that, you can, if you have 1,000 views for your binder, you can have a new binder. And you have 1,000 more views and you can have more. I always set mine to private, but I did share it with my students. And I very, very quickly was able to create a new binder for that. Just on those students looking at my binders every day. So I'm going to create the new binder.
Okay, thank you.
We can see we can see the PowerPoint now.
Okay, thank you. Was it Tiffany who sent a link about the private versus public? Thank you for that, Tiffany. She sent a link for the resource. Let me just add something to that. When you're sharing a collection, you're basically sharing a URL link. So that way people can automatically have access to your binder. The way I say what is private or public is I can relate to a job that I had before. I used to work for a company where all I did was search engine optimization. So part of the things that I learned from experience is that how much people do keywords when they do a Google search is how many times a certain page comes up. So if Marie puts a tag of education, um, most likely within those 10 pages within a Google search, that particular binder may come up. How number one, number two.
Marie, I'm Charity. I'm sorry. We're seeing the PowerPoint where it says it's your turn to create a new binder. Do you need to show another? There
No,
you go.
no, ma'am. I was just responding to Tiffany's.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
I was responding to her. I was just sharing that when you do the private and the public, so when you, even though when you do search and if you keep it private, it will still show because it depends on how many or tag words that you have put in your collection. So I was just trying to explain that. Okay, next is we're going to add the link to your binder. So if you have a link to a page on the internet, you can actually use it. So for instance, okay, this particular site right here, it could even be a link to your own Google Drive or your own collection. So what we do is, here's a sample to add the link. You're gonna put there the actual URL. It says enter a URL. Now make sure that you are on your first tab. So once you have your URL, you can just copy and paste. You can go ahead and click insert. For instance, okay, can you change the name of a link? Yes, you can. You need to just double click. So the default is always tab 1. You can just double click on it and it will automatically change the label. So if I have this URL, I can name it my Google Apps Key Links. So I can just name it that way. I would know that's the name, that's the URL for a particular collection I had. So this time, please go ahead and add links to your binder. Marie and I actually have a collection that we could share to you if you want to just practice on just adding links. So Marie, go ahead and you can show them.
All right, can you see my screen? I have a link.
We can.
Okay, I have a link that you will all, that you will all see there's a problem with. This is to the PD portal. I wanted to use it to show you that sometimes you will insert a link and you just right click, paste in the link and insert. And unfortunately, TAMU does not want to connect with this, but you can just click on this, go to site. And I tell students that if they get this, or if maybe it's expired somehow, to go to site and it will automatically pop up with that link. And as Charity said, we do have a list of links that you could use. I think this is tremendously easy to put in for me because that's something I use on my computer every day, and I'm sure you all do. I have this one as a PD, as my PD portal. This is not something you would normally have under reading. This is just something I put in for you. If you wanted to add a sub-tab under this, you could as well. We're going to get into that in just a moment. But if you click a sub-tab, you can put in login information and then put in maybe the directions for logging into the PD portal. You know, there's a PDF for that. So that would always help with, if you're a PD coordinator, it would help with the directions. Say, I would like you to go to this link, and you will find all of these PDFs to help you with that PD portal.
Got 3 so far.
Actually, Anne-Marie, I was going to pull up some suggestions for links for them to try on and add to their collection.
Perfect. Okay, great.
What I was just going to pull up. I know it's in StyleView. If I could just So these are the links that you can add to your binders if you want. We made sure that this might be something that would be useful to you and to your job. For instance, of course, we have the PD portal for all the videos. And then one here is, I found this to be a great resource in terms of, this was a workshop that I attended. I love this one. It's preparing adult English language learners for the workforce. It has a lot of models and resources, so something that you can access to. Another one is the 2020 AEL Fall Institute materials that are now available on the website. I want to add that because we did the presentation, was it September, October, for the Fall Institute. So the presentations are now live in case you're interested. Another thing is that I also presented during the Literacy Texas, and the website is also live for all the resources that you can find from all the presentation during the July Literacy Texas presentation library. And of course, they also have a resource for video training. So if it's something that you might would just want to add to your collection, something you can get back to later on.
Yep. And Charity, I just had an idea, and maybe this is another idea. There are websites that you use as a bookmark site where you keep all of your links. But LiveBinders could do the same thing, couldn't they? You could create a folder with all of the links that you always go to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the best things about LiveBinders is you can use this. You can send your students to this and have multiple tabs that they can just click on and go to those sites very quickly and easily in your class.
Yes. Although I do categorize some of my bookmarks in my Google Chrome tab, it's still a lot. You have all this down arrow that you have to scroll up and down. So I would totally suggest LiveBinders for actually bookmarking some of the websites that you want to keep and you want to keep on returning.
Okay, so we have 12 minutes. So would you like people to go into their LiveBinder and add one of these links and then let us know when they're done?
Yes, please. If at least choose one. I mean, you can save some of those links later on if you want to keep on adding to your binder. So we just want to make sure that at least you know how to add those links. So we're almost at the end of our presentation. Here's just a few things or a few food for thought.
The hierarchy of tabs. There you can add the tab and then you can add a sub-tab as well that just keeps more information under that tab. So it would, if you have, say, reading within your tabs, you could go underneath and actually add different sites, or you could add links to books themselves. In one of my binders, I actually have links to the books so the student can go directly there and start reading.
Yes. Marie, I think Ashley had an excellent question, and I think we want to spend some time.
Yes.
Yep, exactly. So I know that Charity's going to show her LiveBinders because I think there's going to be real interest in actually showing your LiveBinders, and I know we're going to do that. But that was a good point, so I wanted to bring that up.
Yes, thank you. Just on the last one here, Marie, that you just want to explain to them about this one.
Okay, yes. Before we go to the actual LiveBinder, I do want to remind you that when you have created a new binder, there is a tutorial there. It is in the yellow. You can watch that tutorial if you've forgotten anything about how to create the LiveBinders binder itself. It will go in and show you all of this that you need to know, and it may go in more in depth as well. This was a very short tutorial on how to create that binder. But that's always a wonderful, wonderful thing to have as a tutorial you can go back to. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my binders. Now, as I said, I've always kept my binders pretty private, and I have always liked to do it that way just so my students could see it and they could go in and look. I'm going to go ahead and click on my binder, and you can also add, this is just a graphic that I've added that shows what this is. You don't have to put a graphic on there, but you could put a picture and a graphic, whatever you'd like to. It shows the name of the binder, my graphic, and then it has a short description of what this binder is about. To the left, you'll see the overview, which just is what I was just in, the table of contents. So you can actually see which tabs that I do have. Of course, I administer the tab, so I have a little bit of information here. As I said before too, you can have a sub-tab that will introduce more material underneath this tab. Under computer literacy, of course, I started it out with our blog page because that's what we always went to at the beginning. You can see this blog page is fully functional. You can click on any of the tabs that you would like, and it would go to that page. I have more information for the students. I wanted some informational pages about security. You'll see these are fully functional as well. They've been embedded into this binder. I also did resumes, which of course you can see this one doesn't want to connect either. Remember, you would just click on the link to go to that. The students' portfolios are really impressive whenever they start adding in pages for their own. I've deleted our students' portfolios out of here. You can have for writing. You can see I have sub-tabs for the writing to give you more pages. You can see this one too. This one is an old one. It is now HTTPS. You could always go back in and embed that into your site, or you can just click on this. I think this is good to know because some sites do change over time, and you need to go back in and update from time to time. My reading page, you see I embedded this page in so the students can go, and it is fully functional. I also have one for their children because with our ESL students especially, they learn a lot from reading to their children and stories that are not just for kids. We also have vocabulary builders, math. I think one of the great things about this is you can embed the sheets for the GED. You could put in the GED webpage as well and have the students go there to, whenever you are talking about how they register for a test, even you could walk them through with this.
Marie, I'm gonna jump in here. We have 3 questions, and they're all kind of right where you are. So I want to go back to one that Randy asked a little bit ago. What does new shelf mean? That's the first question, and it has to do with before. So what is new shelf?
I'm going to go back up into the edit mode, and up here at the top, there's a box that if you hover over, it turns red. That's the edit mode. And you will see all the different types. A shelf is where you locate your binder. Now, I believe this is only within the paid portion. I am showing you the free portion today. If you have the paid site, you can have as unlimited a number of binders, and you can put the binders onto a shelf so that they're separated, and you can go to that shelf and then find your binder. It just adds another category, another layer of the hierarchy of your binders.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And then we have another great question. Do you have students create their own LiveBinders? Because I would think they would be good for being able to show for a job or to all those things. Mm-hmm.
You can share yours and they can actually add to yours, or you can walk them through and have the students create their own. We're doing that where they are going to compile their own work
history.
Yes, and there any certificates that they might have, they're able to upload all of these and make a portfolio of samples of their work that they've done. And if they're very creative, they could upload options of or unlimited really. If they've created videos or audios or paintings, they could even upload pictures of those. If they've written stories, they could upload those from Word or Google as well. So it's just limitless how much you can put into these.
Wonderful. And then there's another great question. Courtney asks, is account ownership transferable?
I do not believe it is. I believe you must keep it within your email. Now, that doesn't mean that someone can't download something from one of your binders.
So another question related to that. You have this great LiveBinder. Can you share this LiveBinder with other people like you can do with other digital tools and clone it, and then they can take it and use it as their own? How do you share? How do you share LiveBinders?
There is this share button, and you just you can copy that link and share it with other people. You can share it with Twitter, Facebook, email. You can embed it
Google
into
Classroom.
Yes,
right?
Google Classroom. You can embed it on your web page. I had it on our blog. And you can also determine the type of access that people can have. They can have full access to it where they can edit as well, or they can just upload. You can set that.
Change it to their own, you mean?
Yeah, well, and you can go in and actually look at featured binders that would allow you to copy that binder if you found one that you really like. I'm going to log out for just a moment and show you on the very first start page, if it will log out. There is a tab here that says featured, and these are the featured binders.
Wow.
If you allow your binder to be public, it might be featured if people look at your binder enough. And you could also, the options are that you can either open it or you can actually clone it, copy it and use it in one of yours, because students sometimes have differing tastes, or you might be teaching on a different subject that week. And you really can, like for healthy habits, if you were teaching nutrition in class, you could probably use something out of this and wow, this is bright and pretty.
Marie, another great question while you're here. Ashley had a good question. She says, can two people collaborate on a LiveBinder at the same time, almost like a Google Docs? If they're in can two people be in the LiveBinder at the same time, adding things, collaborating, working on things?
And you can both be in it at the same time. A student can be uploading a document at the same time another one is. I have not had any problems with that at all. Changing documents. Now, I would use like Padlet or something of that type if I were going to have them add different ideas and collaborate that way, and then they could incorporate that into the LiveBinder.
Thank you, Marie.
Oh, thank you very much.
And then let's see if there's any other questions. Let's go ahead and go back to the PowerPoint, and whomever wants to go back to the PowerPoint, maybe Charity can. Okay, so Donnie has a great question. When you collaborate with someone, do they need your username and password, or how is that done? That's a great question.
That was in the share. If you go back to the share button again and share that, it had a link to it so that they could go in and see your LiveBinder. You can give them access to edit and or just to read, so that they can go in and change your binder. And I would only give that to people that I actually trust, or my students, that they are sworn to not upload any pornography or anything that would cause a problem. But I think that within your classroom, your students, and if you give them full access to that, that would be fine.
Another great question, and I can appreciate this, Margaret. If you work really, really, really hard on your binder, you may want to share it with someone, right? But you may not want it changed. And she says, Margaret says, if you share and edit, does it change binders in both places?
No. If you've copied it into your binders, it will not change it if you change anything within that binder.
It becomes theirs. Once they take it, it becomes theirs, and yours is still yours. And now they can do it however they want with it.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I think what would be a great idea is that if you do have questions for Dr. Embley or Marie, what we can do is start a thread in the Tech and Tell community of practice in the PD portal, and you can ask questions there. And once you create your LiveBinder, I think that tutorial video is a great way to also learn. And as we want to thank everybody for joining us today. All right. And I want to give a big shout out again to Dr. Embley and Marie for an excellent job. Thank you both so much for sharing your expertise.